What the hell? I'm JD, the Media Jack, and this video is going up a little late because apparently Dark Avenger is dealing with a internet outage. So, yeah, here's the video.
What's going on, everybody out there, and welcome back to another episode of the Dark Avenger comic book review, the show where each and every episode I share my thoughts on books I read in the previous week. And ladies and gentlemen, I read 16 books last week. That's right, I had 16 books to read. That's a lot. We are back in full force, and there were a lot of Batman books, but I'm sure you could tell that from the title alone. But yeah, there's a lot of Batman to talk about. There's a lot of books to talk about, so let's not waste any time. We'll save everything for the end, and let's get into these 16 books from the week of June 10th, 2020, the second week of June. And we're going to start this off. I like to mix mash all my books now, so we're going to start this off with Justice League after number 46. The Justice League went to Themyscira in the last issue. I was a little confused with that at the end of the last issue, but after rereading it and talking about it on Comic Book Weekly on Comic Frontline, yes, I finally realized they were on Themyscira, and that is where James Corrigan is, or at least that's where the Spectre led them to. So they're on Themyscira, they're surrounded by Amazons, and Wonder Woman's mother shows up, and they're trying to explain what's going on, and then whatever force it was that was messing with the Justice League in the previous issue ends up messing with the Amazons. And now you've got the Justice League versus the Amazons. And the really cool thing about this was, I like how Rob Venditti and how the book has been lately, where a different Justice League member is leading the team. In a previous issue, it was Green Lantern. In another issue, it was Batman. This issue, Wonder Woman steps up and leads the team, because obviously these are Amazonians. They're her sisters and her mother. She knows how they work. So she's able to coordinate the Justice League to counter every single move that the Amazons are going to do to them before they do it. And it was really cool. I have to say also, I've been loving the artwork in this book. In this current arc, I've been really enjoying it a lot. There's a lot of action in this book as well. I feel like I got from point A to point B pretty quickly, but I'm not complaining about it because the journey from the beginning of the book to the end was so enjoyable that I didn't mind that I got to the end so quickly, and it actually left me excited for what's going to happen next. So going back into the book, so you have the Justice League versus the Amazons. Things happen. Read the book. Really good. Rob Venditti's been doing a really good job with this, and that's kind of why I'm sad that he's leaving. And it leaves me worried about where the book is going next. What team is going to be taking it? Is it going to be bouncing from one team to another, from story arc to story arc, until they find a team that wants to stick with Justice League? I love Rob Venditti's writing, and he's been doing a really excellent job in this book. And I love how he did find a way to cameo the Green Lantern Corps in this book. There is a cameo of that with Jon Stewart, which I really loved also. But I'm sad to see him go, but I'm excited to see where Rob Venditti's going, what project he got. That was a dream project of his that now he stepped back from Justice League to do it. So I'm looking forward to hearing what that project is. But anyway, so the Justice League end up finding James Corrigan at some point. They're able to find him. He's locked away in this kind of like hell, I guess it's a dimension. It looked like a cave to me. So they get to him, and for him, time went very slow, or outside of the cave was very fast, because for him it felt like it was 20 years ago that he was reaching out to the Justice League. Now, the problem is, though, the Justice League saved James Corrigan and are trying to find a way to bring the Spectre back, rejoin him with the Spectre, but what they don't know is something else was locked away with James Corrigan, and now that they've opened the cave up, they've released it, possibly. What's going to happen next? Again, I feel like Rob Venditti hit the nail on the head. Boom, boom, boom. The characters, the story, really awesome job. I've been loving Justice League. I'm looking forward to seeing where things go from here. Again, we've had such a long arc when it came to Scott Snyder with The Year of the Villain. It's a breath of fresh air finally to get into something that's now separate, and we get story arcs that have their own connection, and then we move on from there. Again, I've been enjoying Justice League a lot. Definitely something to check out. All right, let's move on to The Flash, issue number 755, the last part to the Paradox story arc leading into Finish Line. I believe that's what it's called. If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. It's the last arc for the writer who's been on Flash since the New 52. Paradox has now made his own paradox of himself. And now time and space basically are collapsing on themselves. And there's one last thing that Zoom can do in order to undo what Paradox has done. However, it's something that Flash might not be too happy with. But in the end, it actually does work in a way where Flash is happy about it. I'm not going to spoil what Zoom does. But let's just say he's able to take Paradox and create a new Paradox where, yeah, basically Paradox is no longer Paradox. Again, you got to read this book. I love this arc. I really do love the artwork in this book, too. I know that this is a love it or you hate it art. I love it. I absolutely love it. So time is starting to collapse in itself, and you got Godspeed, Flash, and then Reverse Flash. Zoom actually comes back and says, with my negative force, we'll be able to push forward and get back to the present day time. And they do. They're able to. And now, I'm not going to spoil anything here. Again, because this is all leading up to the finish line. And the ending is the cliffhanger that leads into the next arc with Zoom. Zoom does something really bad at the end of this issue, which now is going to cause Flash to want to chase him again. And what Zoom says before he leaves is, go do what you always do. Go get your Flash family together and be ready to try to stop me. And then he's like, you know what? I've always wanted to start a family, a Reverse Flash family. So if that's how this writer is going to be going out of Flash, by introducing the Reverse Flash family, I am really intrigued to see where this is going to go. And I will say this, after reading the story arc, I am definitely on board all the way through till finish line. And I'm looking forward to then what the new team is going to be bringing to Flash. It's an enjoyable read. I'm going to be working on, and I'm going to just say this real quick, I'm going to be working on less spoilers for my reviews and more of just sharing my thoughts on books. Again, this is something I've been trying for a while now with my reviews, and I'm going to try to get better at it now that books are back on time, and this is going to be on a weekly format. So you're going to be noticing less and less spoilers. If you do want spoilers, though, I will mention Comic Book Weekly every Tuesday. That's tomorrow. If you're watching this on Monday night while this is premiering, that's tomorrow night. We talk about all the big books, and we go into details. Why? Because the day after, new comic books are coming out. So if by that time you haven't read those books, you might not want to be on Comic Book Weekly until you get your spoilers. So I'm going to work on trying to put less. I'm going to still have spoilers on this show, but not as many. I'm going to try to limit how much I spoil and how much I just discuss how much I love the books. I'm going to move into some AWA books. I've been loving AWA. It's a wonderful new company, and they've got a really amazing lineup of books. So, Old Haunts issue number 1 came out this week. This is a mafia mob-based book where it was these 3 guys who did a lot of work and put a lot of bodies in a desert. And the book opens up with them burying the next body, and then it jumps forward about 10 years into the future, and it turns out that one of the guys got out. He left, moved away, but he's coming back now 10 years later to finish his job and then go home and forget ever being a part of whatever it was. And a lot of this book, in my opinion, feels like setup. I will say I love the artwork in the book, but it's a lot of talking. So if this is something that you might not be interested in, maybe wait for issue 2 and then read 1 and 2 together, because there is a really cool supernatural thing that happens towards the middle of the book that leads to where the book ends up at the end. So this guy, he's back in town, he's doing this last job, getting it done, finished with, and then he's going back home and he doesn't want to know anything anymore. He's out. Basically, he wants out and he got out. And the other 2 guys can't understand why he left, and they've still been doing the work, I guess. But anyway, this guy that got out has regrets. He's starting to say, doesn't it bother you, everything we've done? And he's trying to really get some emotion out of the crew. And it's specifically to one person that died. And the others feel honestly nothing. The person said he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. I don't really feel anything. So then you start to see those bodies that they buried in the desert. Something supernatural is going on there. And something now, as the title says, is going to be the past is coming back to haunt them, possibly, so to speak. And at the end of the issue, there's a bit of not altercation, because that would involve a fight. There was a moment where something happens to them while they're driving, and it looks like they were attacked. And the guy that got out, that's back, who's having these second thoughts about this whole life from the beginning, looks out and notices something. That's where the book ends. I think this was an excellent setup. A lot of talking, a lot of reading, but it leaves you on a cliffhanger that makes you want to know what's going to happen next. Yes. So this is an excellent book. I will say that from the beginning to the middle, I kind of felt like, okay, we're getting all the background. Okay, we're getting everything. Move along a little bit. But by the time we got to the end, it was totally worth it. In my opinion, I think it was totally worth it. There hasn't been an AWA book that's let me down yet. But let's talk about one of my top 5 favorite AWA books. And that's Archangel 8, issue number 2. Now, in the end of the last issue, he was given a letter to go meet someone, because the person he's chasing after apparently is trying to open his eyes and enlighten him to what's going on, what the company he's working, or the person he's working for is. So he goes to this address that he got from the end of the last issue, and he talks to this person who is actually a person who was wronged by the person he's trying to help or get a meeting with. His name is Deacon, and this person's life was destroyed by Deacon. And he says, by the end of this all, you're going to want to kill him. And he's like, I don't think so. He's like, believe me, you might. And he gives him away, because now Deacon says no matter what, he doesn't want a meeting with this guy. He wants him killed. So he gets the lowdown on a specific transaction that's going to be going on. So he ends up going there to try to gain an audience with Deacon, to try to get the people to tell him where he is and to finally get in to talk with him. Lo and behold, though, there's a bit of a twist of fate towards the end of this book. And I'm going to give you this spoiler because I feel it's important to my hypothesizing where the story arc's going. So the reason he was told about this transaction on purpose was because the person he's hunting, or the person he's going after, set the whole thing up so that he can have a meetup with this guy. And he starts to sow a couple of seeds of doubt in our main character, saying, don't you wonder, why is Gabriel sending people? Why is he trying to kill someone he used to work with? Why is he trying to kill somebody that worked for him at some point? Doesn't that make you wonder? Don't you want to know why? And this guy, it's a job for him, so it's just something he wants to do, get over with, and move on. And he's like, don't you find something wrong with that? Doesn't that make you wonder if there's something more to all this? And he tries to attack the guy. Obviously, they're on the same level as far as their abilities. And he instead uses that as an opportunity to escape. And now the seeds of doubt are in our main character's mind. And the thing is, even as a reader, so who is the real bad guy? Is Gabriel the bad guy? Or is this guy the bad guy? And he's trying to put doubt in the main character to make him question enough to where he can convert him to his side. And I find that very intriguing. And I like it. I like it a lot. Artwork is dark, but really good. I love the Deacon character. I'm really interested in seeing what's going to be going on with his development, because he was just this guy that the main character wanted to meet up with to form maybe a working relationship with, to get rid of the guy that we finally get introduced to at the end of the book. And now you're wondering, who's really the bad guy here? And then you get Dee, you don't get more on her, but she's in the book. That's the woman from the previous issue. I loved it. There was so much in this book, and it now makes you wonder, who is the real bad guy and who's the good guy? And will the main character figure out who the bad guys and good guys are? And will he pick the right side? I loved it. Loved it. Definitely something to check out. Final issue for Gogo Power Rangers. Issue number 32. This is the end where Jason, Trini, and Zach reveal they are going away on their, a Peace Corps. They're going to go join, they're going to go on a missionary. And in reality, it's not them going on missionary. It's them going and joining the the grid. They're going off and becoming the Omega Rangers. So now they get their replacements. The team is not happy. You can see Tommy's very upset at Jason for wanting to leave. And the one thing I like about the book that the TV show didn't unfortunately have the ability to really portray is you get more emotion from the characters. Unlike in the show where in reality we know the actors that played Jason, Trini, and Zach ended up leaving because they wanted more money. And honestly, at that point, they were just writing the characters off to write them off and bring in new characters to replace them because they wanted more money. They weren't going to get it. But in the book, it's very different. In the book, it goes it can go any way it wants. So I love how Tommy is very upset. Kimberly is an emotional mess a little bit with what's going on. But we get to see the new Power Rangers come in. We get to see Jason, Trini, and Zach become the Omega Rangers. We get to see the starting moments of Rocky, Aisha, and Adam as Power Rangers. And now, obviously, since this is the last issue, it all leads up to where Mighty Morphin's current arc is, where they collide and they find out that Jason, Trini, and Zach are the Omega Rangers and that the thing they went away for was a lie. And I'm sad to see Gogo end. However, it makes sense. At this point now, the past gap has been filled. I feel like the gap was filled way back when they did the day right after Day at the Dumpster, where they were coming into their powers or coming into being the Rangers. But they gave it a little extra life. They gave us a little, this is right before the Omega Ranger story happened in Mighty Morphin. And now we're going to have some minis connected to Mighty Morphin. We're going to have Ranger Slayer. So I'm happy that Power Rangers is doing so amazing with Boom Studios. And I'm really interested in seeing, will the Omega Rangers be sticking around? Are they going to go back off and do the grid? And then who are the main characters in Mighty Morphin going to be? Is it going to be the 5 or the 6 that were the original Mighty Morphin? What's going to go on? I'm intrigued. And Gogo was a really great series. If you can get it in hardcover trade, definitely get it. 32 issues of enjoyment. I've truly enjoyed Gogo Power Rangers immensely, and I'm still enjoying Mighty Morphin. All right, let's go into some Marvel. I was about to say let's go into some Daredevil because that's what we're doing. Daredevil issue number 20, the grand finale of Daredevil protecting Hell's Kitchen, fighting against oh, wow. Why did the name leave? Bullseye and Rhino and all the other people that were brought in to take down Hell's Kitchen. You even had Kingpin come in to defend Hell's Kitchen, to defend New York, because he's the mayor. And I just loved it. The action was on point. Daredevil, he feels like he's, you think he's back. He's back. He's got his helmet. Foggy gives him his weapons. He's able to fight. He's defending Hell's Kitchen. And they win. Long story short, they win. I'm not going to spoil everything that happens in between the beginning and end, but oh man, it was a fight, and it was great. And then the ending leaves you off with, well, what's going to happen next to Daredevil, because he actually surrenders himself, because he says, so this officer says Daredevil killed his brother. I'm surrendering myself to the law because they're claiming I did something I didn't. So he ends up surrendering himself to the police at the end of the issue. What's going to happen next with Daredevil? This has been an emotional ride for Daredevil. I read literally all 19 issues throughout the coronavirus, and it was a ride. I'll be honest, I tried it, I think the first 2 or 3 issues, and I wasn't really feeling Daredevil. As you progress, I say give Daredevil a full try. Give his first trade a try. Even go into the second one. If you are not convinced that Daredevil's good by the end of the second trade, like if you're not enjoying it by the end of the second trade, let it go. I should have done that. I really should have stuck with the book longer, because knowing, I guess sometimes when it comes to stories, if you read a little bit further along, like if you weren't there from the very beginning, but you have a nice amount of story to read from the first issue all the way through, and I had 19 issues, I was hooked by issue 7 or 8. I was hooked because I loved the direction. At first it was like, okay. And then the direction takes a turn. And it's like, whoa. Well, what's going to happen next? And then you get to issue 19 and you see the cliffhanger you were left at. And it's like, wow, this was a good series. Why have I not been reading this for the past 2 years, if not longer? So it's a really good series. It's really, really good. And I'm excited to see where issue 21 goes, because new arc is starting up now. we're going straight into Faithless 2, issue number 1. Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is a book that Mike Spider-Slayer got me into. And I will say this is for mature readers. Very mature readers. Very mature. I'm talking 18 plus here. There's a lot of sexual content, and this is why it's hard for me to really talk about what happens in the book, because there is some sexual content, and the sexual content goes with Faith and her artistic talent. She's an artist, and she's found by this man who we believe is the devil, and in the end of the last arc, he's going to make her a star, and in this arc, she is a painting star. But a lot of her inspiration for painting comes from her partner, who's the devil's daughter. And it's because of that they are far away. She's in a different country right now, and she's having a hard time gaining inspiration. And she gains it by the end of this issue a little bit. And it's in the form of one of the guys from the previous arc as well. Or I think he's from the previous arc. It's been a bit since the previous arc. And because of Corona, we had a longer gap. But she gains her artistic influence back. Let's just say that by the end of the issue. This is for mature readers. I love the art. One thing is I'm following the artist on Instagram. It is something that either you love it or you don't like it at all. I love it. I love the art for this book. It's really great. Again, though, mature readers. I can't stress that enough for Faithless. And there is a rated M variant cover. Again, mature readers. Let's move back to Marvel. Let's talk about Miles Morales, Spider-Man 17. Why am I reading Miles Morales? Because it's connected to Outlawed. In this issue, Miles was bad ass. So he starts off as Spider-Man, and then he gets confronted by Dum Dum Dugan and the Cradle Squad, who basically want to bring him in because he's a teen superhero. They don't feel teenagers should be superheroes anymore. Obviously, Miles does not agree with that, and huge fight ensues. And I love Miles' line to Dum Dum when he actually says, you know what? I just wanted to see what I was up against, and now that I see what I'm up against, I'm good. Turns invisible and disappears. And I love that. I like that aspect of he just wanted to see what he was up against, and obviously it was nothing. He was able to knock them all around pretty easily. And then there's a dinner he has with his family, and they're discussing Cradle, and they're discussing about teenagers being superheroes, and obviously his mother kind of is behind that a little bit. You know, she doesn't want to see her son die. She doesn't want to see anything happen to Miles. But Miles is very much against it, and he's just going to be laying low for a while. But I agree. I think that Marvel's universe, if they could make a law for something, they do. DC Comics, you have teenagers, you have young kids running around being superheroes, and not once in the entire existence of Marvel Comics, to my knowledge, have they ever tried to invent a law that outlawed teen superheroes, kids superheroes. Never once did they try to make a law where the government had to sanction being a superhero, and that's going back to Civil War, where the whole Civil War thing happened, where superheroes had to register, and Spider-Man made the ultimate bad decision of revealing who he was to the world at first, and then obviously it was undone. But beside the point, yeah, Marvel's universe feels very much like the way our world more than likely that's the way our world would be. And I feel for the teen superheroes, and I don't agree with Cradle, and I'm hoping that through Outlawed, by the time this miniseries is over, it will be outlawed. So let's move now into a book that I don't review, but I've caught up with it. And I'm sure my friend JD, who's editing this right now, hi JD, he's going to be happy to hear Deadpool issue number 5. I jumped into Deadpool actually right before, right as the coronavirus was hitting and right after books stopped coming in. And the one thing that brought me into Deadpool was the art. I do love the artwork for Deadpool. So he is the king of the monsters now. And he's right outside of New York, and one of the monsters ends up, gets attracted to Manhattan, and he goes and attacks Manhattan. Also, oh God, why can I not remember her name? But she is a monster hunter. And I've talked about this girl so many times. She was in so many different books. So anyway, whatever her name was, she is now with Deadpool, and she's following him around because she's a monster hunter. So she wants to make sure Deadpool doesn't do anything stupid. And this monster attacks New York, so he has to go in as the king and stop him. And there's this little, his little pet shark with feet. I love him, and they actually are making him an action figure. I forget for which figure, but I might actually get the Marvel Legend figure with that. There actually is going to be a Deadpool pirate Marvel Legend figure as well, so I'm probably going to be picking that up. So he goes in, he tries to talk sense into the monster. It doesn't work. Long story short, he has to fight it. He ends the monster. And I like how in the end, she tells him, the monster hunter, you know, I think you're going to make a great king. Out of everyone who's ever been king of the monsters, you have the ability to really lead them best. And I like that. And you could see that there's a possible relationship starting there. I liked it. I love the issue. I love the art. And it's Deadpool. How can you not like Deadpool? I mean, there have been arcs where I'm like, okay, it's too much. But I mean, Deadpool has his moments, and this book, this series so far has been really, really strong, and I'm interested in seeing where this goes. Obviously, he's not going to be the king of monsters forever, but until we move on past that, it's still really fun to read. Again, it's an enjoyment. Check it out for the artwork alone. It's really, really good. All right, one more book, and then we got Batman Palooza time. Stealth issue number 2. We get the background finally. The father, after the son comes back from the hospital, we get the origin of how he got the suit. And again, this is one of those books where I gotta say, you gotta read it. You really do. This is an amazing book from Image, I believe. So this is an amazing story. So we get his background in this issue. We find out how he got the suit. We find out he was a firefighter and something happened. And that's where, you know, the backstory to him getting the suit and getting his abilities came from. And I loved it. I digged it. But the son in the end says, you know what? And he takes the suit and says, you cannot be this person anymore until we fix you, until we can find a way to make you better, because he has Alzheimer's, and it's really starting to mess with him and mess with him as a superhero. He's making mistakes, and there's somebody else that's noticing this, somebody who's been against stealth before. And now they're wondering, why is it like this? And somebody might actually be stepping in, and that's what we see at the end of the issue, to stop stealth or to finally get revenge on stealth. I'm not sure. We'll find out in the next issue. But this was a really good read. We get the backstory. So if you want the backstory on the suit, get this issue. I enjoyed it. I loved the first issue. This was a surprise out of left field for me, and this is a book I definitely recommend. So definitely check out Stealth from Image Comics. Great artwork as well. Every book in this, let me put it this way, every book I'm going to talk about, I'm going to say the artwork's good, because I've enjoyed the artwork in every single one of these books. Especially the last book we're talking about. I'm going to talk a lot about the art. But anyway, Stealth, really good. Let's get into some Batman books. So Batman The Adventure Continues #1. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because basically the Batman Adventure Continues series is a digital first series. It's been coming out digitally. It comes out every other week digitally, and then this is a collection of all of the first couple of chapters. And it's Batman, the return of the animated series. You have Lex Luthor and Deathstroke making guest appearances in this book. They're showing up in Gotham. And it's Batman dealing with them. And now, I don't know. See, the thing is, I didn't get my physical copy yet. So I don't know where this book is going to end. So I don't want to go too far into it. I will say this, though, from reading the series digitally first. I guess the hype was really there. The artwork is on point. The animated series comic book before it ended. The thing is, though, the story itself, I feel, is very middle ground right now. It's nothing earth-shattering. It's nothing super spectacular. And hopefully, as time moves on, it will build up. This is a miniseries, though, so I don't know how much it's going to build up. But there can be improvements to it. I find that this was definitely a middle ground for me when it came to the animated series. So we're moving in now. We have two big books. So let's start with the Batman Secret Files #3. And this has a bunch of stories. There's a Green Arrow story. There's a Batman story in, I think he was in the monster side of Gotham for the first arc, if I'm not mistaken. Or was he fighting Talia? I can't remember the first story, so that says something right there. But there's an arc with Green Arrow. Artwork I really didn't care for at all. Then we get to Deathstroke. Now, this is the big connection to the Joker War. We get the backstory on what Joker did to get Deathstroke to agree to work with him against Batman. So this is the big setup for the Joker War. You got Punchline who guests in this. And it leads into what's going on in Batman now, which we'll get into in a moment. The next big book, the Joker's 80th anniversary #1. It's the Joker's celebration. And this book, I think that the shining star story in it, and why almost everybody is going to be picking this up, is you get Punchline's origin in this anniversary issue. And if you order your books from Midtown has an exclusive cover with Punchline on it. So that's going to be the main discussion point when it comes to the Joker's 80th anniversary. And then just like with the Secret Files, the Joker's anniversary has a bunch of different stories from all across the spectrum. There is a Punchline intro. There's a story that involves somebody who was affected by the Joker. A lot of different covers from a lot of different Joker moments or Joker-led comics. There's a lot of covers with the Joker on it, like The Death in the Family. There's one from where he paralyzed Barbara Gordon. The Killing Joke. I couldn't remember the arc for a moment there. There's just a lot of really nice short stories with the Joker. Joker versus Batman. Joker's backstory. Joker with Punchline. So if you're a Joker fan, you're going to get this book. If you're a Punchline fan and you want her backstory especially, you're going to definitely get this book. So get this book. This, I think, out of all the 80th so far coming out of Batman, other than Robin's, which I loved immensely, this is definitely one of those books you'll want to check out. Batman number 92. So we are still in the designer story arc here, and you got Batman fighting Deathstroke. You got the Riddler. This was a classic, and I love this book so much because it's the Riddler versus Batman. The Riddler keeps throwing out riddles to Batman, and Batman's able to answer. And he's like, throw me another riddle. Give me another riddle. Because he's using Riddler. He's making Riddler think about riddles, so this way he could track where Riddler is. So Riddler keeps throwing out all these. I tried not to look at the answers Batman was giving and tried to figure some of these out on my own. Holy crap, Batman is smart. Because I couldn't even figure out half the stuff he was figuring out. But he was. He was doing it. And then you got... Now this is the part everybody's going to want to hear about. You have Catwoman and Harley Quinn who go to this person, and she's looking to stop the designer from stealing Bruce's money. So she's going to somebody who she's trying to get help from. And it turns out the Joker is one step ahead of both of them, and you get the first meeting of Punchline and Harley Quinn. And Harley Quinn gets introduced to Punchline and finds out that she's his working partner. And I love how she's like, one day we're going to be best friends. One day we're going to sit here and talk about how Joker is a piece of garbage. But that's not today. You're working with him right now. Let's go. And they fight. And unfortunately, it ends in a draw right now. We're going to see more of this. And I'm probably going to be reading the last issue of Harley Quinn because I feel like the last fight between the two of them is going to happen there. But it does end kind of with them going different ways for now. So, unfortunately, we don't get to see that big final fight between Harley Quinn and Punchline yet. But we will. I'm sure we will. Unless something happens in the next issue and I'm completely wrong. But anyway, Batman finds Riddler, knocks him out, knocks Deathstroke out, and then we see the designer. What's going to happen next? Who knows? But apparently, thanks to the Joker, and this is something that's been going on in multiple Batman books this week, the Joker's going around telling everyone who Batman is. And here's the question. Is Batman the next superhero that's going to be outed in the DC universe as far as his identity? Superman's already come out. I mean, it was a terrible idea. It was a terrible arc. And I see it being retconned at some point. But now that Joker's going around spewing out that, hey, Bruce Wayne is Batman and I'm going to go find a way to steal all of his money and make his life miserable. Yeah, he's telling everyone. So literally almost every single person in Batman's rogue gallery, one by one, is finding out that Bruce Wayne is Batman. What kind of impact is that going to have? unless it's also retconned or somehow they all forget. I don't know. And finally, Bat Family book Nightwing 71, which was not as hard to find as as Nightwing 70. So I don't know why 70 sold out, but anyway, 71, Joker has made his impression in Bloodhaven, and you have Dick Grayson. Well, he's not Dick Grayson yet. He's still Rick Grayson. Rick Grayson goes out. He finds out about what happened to one of his Nightwings, and also you have what was his name? Mammoth? Was it? Is it Mammoth? I'm trying to remember if Tusk. I'm sorry. Tusk attacks the PD. He shows up, saves the PD, and then we find out about the partner who is hurt by the Joker. We see some Joker cards laying around, and Rick Grayson's wondering what the heck's going on with Joker. And that's where Joker has now met up with Rick's girlfriend, at this moment at least. And apparently he's able to manipulate the crystal, which was what took Dick's memories away or suppressed them super deep inside of his subconscious. And instead of using the crystal to kind of bring Dick Grayson back, he's now going to be manipulating Dick in a different way. And I feel like we're going to see this in the next issue, so I'm not going to go too deep into it, but Dan Jurgens has brought me into Nightwing again, and I'm loving it. I jumped in at issue 70. I don't think you need to go beyond that if you want to go back a couple more issues just to see what happened before. I believe all this really truly started with issue 70, but if you want to see his fight against the Court of Owls, which they are the reason why Dick never wanted to get his memories back and he stayed Rick Grayson, and why he didn't become Nightwing, it was all to kind of brush him up and get him to join the Court of Owls instead, and it obviously backfired and he was able to fight against them, but also at the cost of his memory. So he still doesn't have his memories yet, but from what we're seeing in future issues and possible future arcs, Nightwing might be coming back, possibly. We'll have to wait and see, but Nightwing 71 was a good read. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to seeing what Joker does to Rick Grayson, Dick Grayson, whatever they're going to call him, come the next issue. And hopefully they find a way to destroy that crystal and get Dick his memories back. Last book we're going to talk about is I think it was triple-sized. It's a triple-sized book, and that is Adventureman, issue number 1. Coming all the way out of Image Comics. I saw who was doing this book, and it is, I just want to make sure I have all names correct. We have Matt Fraction and Terry Dodson, and also his wife. I want to get this right. We have, Matt Fraction, Terry Dodson, and Rachel Dodson. Both are on this book. Terry Dodson doing the pencils and colors, and Rachel Dodson doing the inks. Adventureman. So it opens up with Adventureman and his league of superheroes, and it is end time. This is the end of the world kind of scenario where the supervillains have gotten together, and this is going to be the fight that ends everything. And that's exactly what happens. Long story short, I'm not going to give details away. This is a huge book that everyone should read, and I'll be here for another 20 minutes talking about it otherwise. So the story ends with a bit of a cliffhanger. Adventureman fights the villains, and then we don't know what happens next. Things go dark, so to speak. And we find out it's this mother reading to her son, and the mother is deaf, so she has these earplugs that are in, and when she takes them out, she's deaf, and there are moments in the book where she does that just to kind of tune the world out. And the son is just a huge fan of Adventureman and just adventure in general. And this woman runs a bookstore, and this other woman comes in who looks familiar from the past. If you read the book, you'll know what I'm talking about. And she leaves this book in the bookstore in front of the mother, and then she leaves. There's something that happens, but she's gone. So the mother ends up keeping the book and giving it to the son, and apparently there's something going on in this book, and the son is starting to find these little clues in the book. And now the mother's like, okay, Adventure Boy, let's save this for another day, because the book has Adventureman's symbol on the cover. And it's interesting because when the book ends, when the comic ends, the book is illuminating, and there's this big light that's in this house, and it turns out that they're neighbors to somebody. I'm not going to say who, but they're neighbors to something that's within that book. And what's going on. You don't find out really much else right now. You don't know if they're related to Adventureman, if somebody's trying to reach out with Adventureman's last story. This was really good. And the one thing I have to say most of all was the artwork was gorgeous. I loved this book. I went into this book. First of all, Matt Fraction is hit or miss for me sometimes, but he got this book perfectly. He was able to knock this book out of the park. I am sold. I want to see where this ongoing goes. Is Adventureman dead? Is he hidden? Is he locked away somewhere? Is he trapped somewhere? Are the mother and the son going to become like the next adventure family, so to speak? Is the boy going to grow into being Adventureman like current day? I don't know. So many questions to be answered. So many things that I'm sure will be answered over time. Adventureman, Matt Fraction, Terry Dodson, Image. You got me again with another ongoing series. I'm sold. This was one of my favorite books this week. I highly recommend you check out Adventureman issue number 1. Triple size book. Either triple or double size book, but it's bigger than your average comic and worth every single penny. So definitely check out Adventureman issue number 1. And with that, that's it for this week's review. Now, a couple of things I want to talk about. If you missed it, this past Saturday, I posted a video unboxing some stuff I ordered from TKO Studios. Really awesome stuff, really awesome books that hopefully I'll be able to read and review very soon. They'll have their own videos on the channel. As I read them, I'll be reviewing them. Also, on Wednesday, I will be posting a birthday haul. That is going to be the stuff I got for my birthday. And then Saturday is going to be a special haul. I'm not going to spoil what that is. That's going to be a surprise. And both of these videos are going to be premiering. You might be seeing some new series, new returning series popping up. I have to make sure to say returning because like I said, I'm not doing anything new this year. So you're going to see some returning series popping up possibly this week as well. Now that the comic review is in swing, the Dark Avenger live show is in swing, and everything else is finally coming back into swing. The series that I have planned for the channel are going to start popping up here, there, and everywhere. And these are going to be ongoing series. The haul videos and the unboxing is going to be here, there, and everywhere for now. There is going to be a monthly haul that will turn into a weekly haul later on once everything passes, once COVID passes and things start coming on a weekly basis. I will be doing weekly hauls, but for right now, we're going to have one monthly haul where it has all the books I get from a single month, and then we're going to work our way into a weekly haul, and we're going to expand even further on that. As you all know, JD, the Media Jack, the link to his YouTube channel will be in my description. He is editing the videos on my channel. Don't forget to check out Comic Book Weekly tomorrow night if you want even more in-depth reviews for some of these books. I'm sure we're going to be talking about that, plus spoilers, and much more. So, with that being said, I want to thank you all so much for being here. I will see you all next week on this show for another Dark Avenger comic book review. But till then, take care, keep reading, keep collecting, and I'll see you really soon in the next one. Hey, did you enjoy that video? If you're new, consider clicking that subscribe button for more. Also, click that notification bell to be notified when live streams and videos are posted. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. Come over to Facebook.com and join the Dark Avenger Nation to continue the conversation beyond YouTube. Don't forget to check out my website, ShootingStarUniverse.com, for all the content I do across the web. And for anything else, check the links in the description below. And as always, take care, keep reading, keep collecting, and I'll see you really soon in the next one.